Hello, and welcome to the Officials Institute segment Rule Review. Today we will be talking about traveling, probably one of the most inconsistently called rules in basketball today. In order to help us rule on these properly, we will be identifying the pivot foot, which is probably the single most important factor when making these rulings. So, without further delay, let's get started. In this clip, we see the dribbler drive to the basket and make a nice spin move around his defender for an easy layup. Let's take a closer look. As the dribbler drives to the basket, once he picks up the ball, he has come to a stop and has established a pivot foot. After establishing this pivot foot, he may pick it up for a pass or a try, but once he returns that pivot foot to the floor, it becomes a traveling violation. Let's watch it one more time. In this clip, we see a player in the air catch the ball, and after coming down and taking a step, get called for a traveling violation. Let's take a closer look. As you can see, when the player catches the ball, both of his feet are off the floor. In this instance, as soon as his first foot touches the floor, it becomes his pivot foot. The player then takes a step with his non-pivot foot and starts a dribble legally. This is not a traveling violation. Here it is one more time. Here we see the dribbler drive to the lane, take a jump stop, and attempt a shot. But did he travel? Let's take a look. The player here stops his dribble when he picks up the ball here, making his foot on the floor the pivot foot. Once he jumps off that foot, he may legally land on both feet simultaneously, but then may no longer use either foot as a pivot. This is a traveling violation. Here it is again. In our last clip, you'll see the player at the top of the key make a sudden move to try and beat his defender. When we take a closer look, we see that the player, after he receives the pass, shuffles his feet several times and then dramatically shuffles both feet before he puts the ball down for a dribble. Let's watch this again while paying close attention to his pivot feet. Catches the ball here, establishing a pivot foot. Lifts and returns, travel number 1. Pivot foot again established. Shuffles it again, travel number 2. Either foot can be used for a pivot in this case, but since he lifts both off the floor before he starts a dribble, that becomes traveling violation number 3. Well, that's our traveling segment of Rule Review. Thanks again for watching, and come back and see us again soon.